Josh and I must have showed some really good chemistry there in the last show. It got us back on together. So we'll see if we can do the same this time.
There is no doubt it was by popular demand that you were brought back together. Could be the next maths couple. Hello and welcome once again to my favourite 20 minutes of the week. It's the Burning Questions, and we've got a new cast. In fact, I think these two boys have been together before, but I wasn't present and accounted for at that stage. Later in the show, this is sponsored by Hip Pocket Workwear. We're going to discuss David Aiken's immaculate handwriting. That's later, so stick with us for the next 20 minutes. How are you going, Josh?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Jace. Going well, mate.
We're going to have to ask you some pretty hard questions about that Blacks Are Fake free-for-all, and we expect transparency and honesty in all regards. So this is going to be a difficult show, and we're going to ask a tough question of you too, Mick, Stanley, about Soho Broadway. We've just had a brief off-air chat about it, so I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, but we expect honesty, but I think we're going to get it from you as well.
Yeah, afternoon, guys. Well, you always got to be upfront and honest, don't you? And Josh and I must have showed some really good chemistry there in the last show. It got us back on together, so we'll see if we can do the same this time.
There is no doubt it was by popular demand that you were brought back together. Could be the next maths couple. Right, Skeeter, how are you? Nikkita Ross.
Good, thank you, Bon. Looking forward to answering another few very important questions ahead of the weekend's racing.
All right, the first important question we're going to address on the Burning Question, sponsored by Hip Pocket Workwear. I'll get to my little advertorial a bit later. We have to go to you first here, Michael Stanley. Soho Broadway, we saw, we call it now the Santa Casa Beach. Handing up at a race where you think your main danger might be on your back. That was a Matty Craven trained horse on that occasion. You've got another Matty Craven trained horse on your back in race 2 on the card, Soho Broadway. If LTR is removed as emergency, looks the likely leader, but you have the option to shuffle Helgart back 3 back the poles. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think we'll just lead anyway, Jace, because I think Broadway herself, she's led in all her wins to date so far. So we know that she's a good leader and she fights them off in front. So just for that simple fact, I think that we would adopt the same tactics. But look, I look back on it and we just spoke, as you said, we spoke briefly before. Santa Casa Beach, it was nearly his undoing in that race handing up. Crime Rider nearly got him. He beat him for speed because the race probably wasn't run to suit. They went slow and it took him a little while to work into his rhythm. And he got the result. But I think last week when he led, he was way more impressive than what he was with the trail. So, yeah, he got the result in the end, but it probably, the tactics didn't suit the horse to his racing pattern, really. So sometimes if you do that and they go slow, will my filly wind up quick enough to win the race herself? So maybe what I would do is maybe set a stronger tempo from the 800 and have the horse on my back chasing me and try and take a bit of sting out so they're not there sitting up at the top of the lane ready to use their speed.
You're known as such a conservative driver. I understand why people thought you'd just hand up meekly, Mick, but it turns out you're going to be aggressive this week. It's magnificent to see your versatility. Josh, we've really got the answer already. I guess the only question I can ask you is, what would you do in exactly the same situation?
No, I think you talk to most drivers, and if you get the chance to lead over the short at Melton, you definitely roll your arm and lead. If you're good enough to win, you generally win. Given the opportunity to lead, especially the short, it's just such a good posse to be in. But Mick's driven in front of this track plenty of times. I don't think he's handed up to many people. It's probably the anomaly, but I think she'll take some beating given those circumstances.
I'm pretty happy about the situation because my best bet on the night is Helgart, and I was going to have to change on the run if Mick told us something different here. You're pretty confident, Skeeter, that this is what is going to happen. The question is, again, we're not drivers and we don't know what we do if we were out there and wouldn't have the capacity probably if we were. But what would you do in the same situation? And do you think Soho Broadway can lead and win?
Yeah, I think she can. And I think clearly the main danger is Helgart, and whether Helgart can out-sprint her, basically, is the question. We saw them clash a couple of weeks ago and slightly different circumstances. Helgart was back a little bit further and she chased but just couldn't quite get to her. But Mick did say to us earlier that, sometimes horses, while they're still developing and young in their career, and Soho Broadway is one of those, can wait for horses a little bit when they're out in front by themselves. So, look, I think they're definitely, they look the Quinella in the race. They look to run 1-2. two, they'll be probably, by the sounds of it, leader behind leader, and that looks your likely 1-2.
All right, let's move on to the next question about Illawong Stardust. That matriarch trot looks one hell of a race. It's going to be an absolute pearler. I'm of the belief with Illawong Stardust that maybe it's going to be tough to step straight into this elite class and win, but she's very short in current markets. Josh Aiken currently sporting the full Goatee, which I personally appreciate more than just the Muzzy. What do you think about Illawong Stardust? Can she step straight into this grade and win?
I really like her, and she's sort of bred to be a good horse. We had a great affiliation with Spider Girl, and they're just tough, take no prisoner type horses. And I was really impressed with the win on the weekend and also the run before. If you go and watch that stand-start race and you pause at the 2,000 metre mark, she probably spots him 100 metres and gets beaten, a couple of lengths. So I think she got a lot of bottom. What she does have is she has the advantage of the draw, and she may be able to sneak a little bit of an advantage at the start and get the better ones chasing. But, those top 2 or 3 mares in that race, I'd take any of them home. They're all pretty nice.
I think I'll take anything in the race, basically, on there. It's an incredibly strong race. Skeeter, I've got no doubt she'll measure up eventually. We've spoken, certainly with the paces recently, about young horses going into this grade. I know it's a 4- and 5-year-old race, but she's had less experience at that top level than a few others. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I thought she was a little bit too short, Bon, just jumping up to this level. It is such a deep race with mares that are racing in such great form at the moment, and she's just not quite foolproof at the moment, is she? We saw Brian Gath was off the gate a little bit last week, even drawn off the second row just to make sure she was comfortable, and there is a bit of speed on that front row too, so if a few of the horses burn out at the start and she loses a rhythm a little bit, I just am not 100% confident at that price, but there's no doubt she's a very, very exciting filly, and she's going to measure up, but I just think she might need a little bit more time, and I probably couldn't have her as favourite this weekend.
Can't believe we agree. I mean, we're so often at loggerheads. Can't believe we agree, Skeeter. Mick, your thoughts, brother?
Yeah, I've got no question that in time that Illawong Stardust will measure up with the better ones, whether it's this week or not. I think we've said in the past, horses don't come 3 wide solo before the winning post and win. And she done it last week, and she did have a decent horse on her back. So there's no question she has the talent, and she will measure up. Whether it's this week, this early against the likes of Kiang Lavana, who was awesome first up. Pink Galaz has now had a run under her belt, and I saw her live at the trials before that, and she was impressive. So she's going to be better for the run. So, yeah, like we said, whether she measures up this week, I think she will in the long run. But I'm sort of with everyone else. I'm not too sure whether she will this week against the likes of Kiang Lavana and Pink Galaz.
Who's the beanie supporting, by the way, Mick?
It's MND, so it's not this year's. I haven't got round to Coles just yet, but always like to support good causes like that.
Magnificent stuff. Now, I've been asked to do more live reads here at SEN because of my work doing this sponsorship segment for Burning Questions. So just take a moment. Here's a word from our sponsors yet again. There are more than 45 stores across Australia using national buying power. Hip Pocket Workwear and Safety's locally owned stores have a unique place in the safety workwear, corporate clothing and protective equipment market. Concentrate, Josh. This is an important bit of the show. From the work site to the office, hospitality, healthcare, sports uniforms, corporate wear and embroidery. We're all into our embroidery. Hip Pocket Workwear and Safety have you covered. So make sure you get involved with Hip Pocket Workwear. The clothes coming very soon. Josh, let's go to you first here. This question's about Shadow Sax, but the team's got a magnificent role to play in this Blacks Are Fake free-for-all. We've seen Shadow Sax go great its last couple of starts. Are you expecting him to be driven like the really top-quality horse he once was?
Off his last run, it wouldn't surprise me. His sectionals were super and just kept finding the line, which was like the Shadow Sax of old. And, it's probably similar to a couple of our horses that have come off an extended break. It just takes those half a dozen runs to really acclimatise to that. Go away, Brooke Wilkins. What do you want? And it just takes half a dozen runs to acclimatise that top level. And knowing Matty, when Matty's confident with his horses, they're driven that way, and he puts them into the race. So it wouldn't surprise me if Shadow Sax was attempted to be put on the front end and kept running.
I really like that you didn't have to call out Brooke Wilkins then, but you chose to. Like I like that. If you want to call me during the show, I told you I was going to be busy, so we're going to call you out. The fifth guest on today's Burning questions is Brooke Wilkins. Now, you could play a very conservative hand here and say, I don't know, the drivers are going to do whatever they want to do, but I'm going to go through all three runners and you tell me what you expect them to do tactically, okay? Malcolm's Rhythm. Who's my top tip in the race?
I think Malcolm's Rhythm is probably going the best out of all their horses. I reckon if you had have seen Fresh Air last start, hypothetically speaking, if Code Bailey goes to expect and Zach gets a split at the top of the straight, I think Malcolm's Rhythm wins that race. Zach's got the pleasure of driving a race however it unfolds in front of him. Knowing the horse and knowing what Zach now knows about the horse, I dare say he'll just find a spot knowing that the horse closes so good and knowing that the first 200 might be electric. So you might see Malcolm's Rhythm just finding a spot early without telling Zach how to drive the horse, of course.
You've made my weekend. The weekend started on Thursday hearing that information that you think it's going the best of any horse in the stable. I think Skeet and I have both had a bet at 650. Sirletic. Now, we know that maybe if Shadow Sax wants to run the gate, there's a possibility here that Sirletic can use his unbelievable gate speed to make life very hard, but I think we're all on the same page that he's probably best driven off the speed. What's he likely to do on Saturday night?
No, I'll be snagging back looking for a helmet. This horse could cross over to the fence in 100 meters, but that's just the undoing of him. So I've just got to remain patient and not get an itchy trigger finger and just go back, find a helmet, get a trail into it, let him run home.
That's two right answers. The third right answer we need from you now: has Max Delight got the speed to cross Shadow Sax if Shadow Sax is driven off the gate?
I'd say if I was driving him, it'd be a bit of a iffy one. You'd probably and ah. But you've got the Puppet Man on, so I think if Puppy wants to light that horse up and get to the fence, he'll do it with ease. But that's completely up to Puppet what he wants to do. So, but you've just seen the way Todd McCarthy's crossed really fast horses on Max Delight. I tried to do it and couldn't do it, but I'm not Todd McCarthy or Chris Alford. But yeah, if Puppet wants to light him up, you'd expect that his first 200 is electric.
We'll stick to the Shadow Sax part of the argument here, Mick. Do you think he's going to be driven like a good horse, or are they going to stay being a little bit conservative with him, knowing the issues that he's had?
I'm just going to stick up for Josh for a minute with his gate speed. He did get Hector JJ out in 24-something one night at Menangle, so don't sell yourself short, mate. I've seen you light him up plenty of times. So
I reckon Mum would get Hector JJ off the gate, though.
True. I think he will be driven like a good horse because he's had a couple of runs back from a spell and he hit the line really well last week. I was sort of a little bit... I'd say he didn't look comfortable in his gear still, Shadow Sax. So I think when he gets to the fence now with a good draw, he does excel in front. We know that he excels in front. So I've got no question that with the way he hit the line that they'll drive him very confidently this week. So whether he can win doing that, at this stage of his career with the injuries and that he's had against horses that are in form like Max Delight and Malcolm's Rhythm, and so it's not an overly big race, but it's a really good race, this one, isn't it? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the Puppet does with Max Delight, because if he does send him out early and get to the front, well, that'll really set it up for the Aiken team, really. So if Shadow Sax walks to the front tactically mid-race, it's going to be interesting to watch.
It's going to be an intriguing race. I tend to agree. I think if not now, when he's racing really well, Shadow Sax, if you're going to be conservative when you've got the good draw, you wonder when they ever would use him again. So I suspect he will be driven confidently, Skeeter.
Yeah, look, I like my fun facts. This is the first time that the horse has drawn the front row in 11 starts, and we know he's had a long time off with injury. I don't think it will be a lead at all costs kind of scenario. If they've got Max Delight flying, outside him, I think he'd be probably pretty happy to take the trail behind Max Delight, knowing that he's going to get you into the race. So, look, I don't think they're going out there to break any records and make sure they hold the front, but I expect that they will be trying to cross Van Danter and from there, look to drive him pretty confidently.
I can't see I'm getting overly excited as my phone wants to talk to me. It just tells you how good I am with technology. The laptop blew up last night. Now, I'm not overly excited about this question, but we do 4 questions on the burning questions. Enhance Your Calm. Had one run back from a break now with Nathan Purden. Is he going to fulfil that enormous early potential he had in New Zealand, a 2-time Group 1 winner early on? Skeeter.
Look, I don't think we've seen enough yet to say that, Bon. There's a fair bit of depth in the trotting ranks at the moment, I think, and yes, he did have that massive boom on him as a juvenile, but he probably just hasn't taken that next step. We saw him in the 4-year-old Futurity series last year, and he was sort of well beaten there behind Always Ready, Majestuoso. So, look, I don't think he's just going to come out and go straight through his grades and be taking on the best free-for-allers, in the next few starts. However, this does look his race on Saturday night, I think.
I think he wins, Mick, but I'm going to reserve judgment in terms of whether he's going to fulfil that potential. I'm not sure there's that many signs of it yet. I'll wait a little while, I think.
Yeah, I don't think he will fulfil the potential myself. In saying that, obviously he's going to be a really nice horse, and you would think he would want to win this race, for fun, because it's not an overly strong trot race. But to me, to be a top liner, he just doesn't have elite speed. He just looks a bit one pace for mine. So going forward, you just don't fulfil that as you said, the reputation and that to win a Group 1. I think you need elite speed, and for mine, he just doesn't have it.
Well, you look at the top class trotters, and it's only mares going around in 4 and 5-year-old level, Josh, and the quality of those horses and how good you have to be these days to compete in top level trot races. He's got a long way to go. I expect he'll be winning Saturday night, though. I don't think that should be much of an issue.
No, for sure. It definitely looks his race on Saturday, but the thing Nathan has on his side is the horse is only a 64 rating, and he'll be able to place him and at least sort of give him some runs and, sort of get him, grounded for that metropolitan racing. So he's not on a high grade. It's not like he's in the deep end straight away. He's going to be able to pick off some cheap races and sort of maybe get some confidence up before hitting those better horses.
All right, Josh, you're sitting in the place that I normally sit in cars, the passenger seat. You tell me who your best bet of the night is, please, mate.
Best bet of the night. I was really impressed with Kang Lavana. I think she's going places, and I'd say she's my best bet of the night.
Yeah, she's going to be very hard to beat. She's my top tip. It's such a high quality race. Mick, you've got a very strong record here. We don't want to go through 2 or 3 losing tips from you because you've started a blaze. Who have you got as your best?
Well, I'm not tipping Soho Broadway because I'm hoping that you just keep throwing Hellgut out there like you did with It's a Major Surprise 2 weeks ago, and Soho Broadway can get the drift with a bit of luck. So keep doing your best work there. I'm going to go with
too nice to each other for too long.
I think the lead team will have a really good night. I think Highway to Heaven will lead and be hard to beat in its race.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a 2-horse race with Torrid Saint. Should it have won last night? Yeah, definitely should have won. Skeeter, who's your best of the night?
Yeah, well, my absolute moral, you marked $1.20, so I'm not going to make any friends by saying that Runaway Celebrity wins, but that does look likely. So I'm with Kang Lavana as well because, I was so impressed by her first up run, and I think she will only get better from that. So it's a really, really good race, but I really like Kang Lavana.
All right, I'm going Hellgut. I think everyone knows that at this point. I think Soho Broadway, well, I believe in Mick. I trust in Mick, and he's giving me a whack there. But I trusted him to lead, and Hellgut should be able to run by. Admittedly, this is how things can change. When she won 3 starts back, I had to be resuscitated. I thought she had no possible chance. 3 runs later, I'm making her my best bet of the night. So that's how much of a two-faced person I can be. Mick, thanks very much for joining us, mate. We'll talk to you again soon. Or should I say Jen Brown? No, it's definitely you. Thanks for joining us, mate.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, Josh. Good luck Saturday night, brother.
Cheers, mate. Always a pleasure.
Well done, Skeeter. I don't know why we didn't have the same best bet like we normally do, but I do love the new hairstyle. Come into the Friday form panel with that's a great look for you. Thanks to everyone for joining us on the Burning Questions, sponsored by Hip Pocket Workwear. We'll be back again next Thursday.